Maybe they were happy. They pulled the plug on Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. That was Friday afternoon stunner. I did a video just reacting to it and then had a chance to think about it some more. And look, it was funny to see how many reporters were acting like they knew all along. It's like, hey, if you didn't say a word about it, don't act like you knew all along. I always hate that.
Right.
Excuse me. But there was something there.
Weirdness
we
there,
talked about
you talked
something
about it a
was
lot.
there. I've written about something's there. When I put the hot seat together, the coaching carousel, here are the spots we're watching. I specifically had an entry in December. Kevin O'Connell is not on the hot seat, but whoever applied the final yes to this is how we're going to run our quarterback operation in 2025 needs to be questioned.
Yeah.
And I had no reason to believe O'Connell was the one that said, hey, let's just go with J.J. McCarthy and a couple of journeymen.
Right.
Oh, and then let's get Carson Wentz 2 weeks before the start of the season.
Right.
So the action, the firing of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah out of the blue, it tells me that they just decided, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can somebody bring me a water or something, please?
We got it. But it tells you something was there. I'll filibuster for the meantime here. I mean, yeah,
Usually they're paying attention.
Well,
to
it's
these
Super
things.
Bowl. They're a Super Bowl ready team, right? And there was questionable things done at the quarterback position. And then we got into the offseason last year and talked about they're a Super Bowl ready team. And it's kind of shocking that it looks like they're going to do it with second year, basically de facto rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, right? So with all that seems fishy. And I think Kevin O'Connell being a quarterback whisperer and who he is and coming from Sean McVay and everything else, I don't think he probably looked at that and goes, that's the formula to get us to the Super Bowl with a Super Bowl ready football team, right? It makes you question even the Kirk Cousins stuff before that, because Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was obsessed with, we're going to get a franchise young superstar quarterback. Remember, he was talking about that. So all this lines up to make you think post-season meetings, let's meet with all the coaches and all that something got to the GM. You heard coaches meeting with ownership and whoever else the other decision makers are to go, there's something wrong here with how we were built and how we approach things and certain decisions, and it goes on Kwesi, and that's what it feels like as we're sitting here right now.
And there are different factors that can play into this, okay? Number one, the most obvious, Occam's razor, the only razor with which I shave. The Seahawks winning the Super Bowl, or winning the game to get to the Super Bowl, and Sam Darnold, all of a sudden, here he is. That happens on Sunday. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah gets fired on Friday. Like, is that the last straw? I don't know. But the timeline they use, they go nearly 4 weeks after the end of their regular season before they make this move.
That's what's shocking.
What is the catalyst?
Right.
What makes them decide at that moment, this is when we're turning the key on this? And also, I think that what they've done, they're not going to do a GM search until after the draft. Rob Brzezinski, who's been there forever and is kind of the cap and contracts guy, he's going to run the front office, build consensus, which may imply that they didn't have much consensus. But O'Connell, I think, gets more juice in the short term, maybe in the long term. But by not having to graft a GM search onto your offseason, you can just kind of say, you know what, we have our plan. We don't have to comply with the Rooney Rule. We don't have to do anything. We're gonna hire a GM after the draft. For now, we're gonna go forward with what we have.
Yeah.
So all they basically did was they said to Kwesi, go home. We're fine without you through the draft.
I think that says a lot. I think, again, your Occam's razor or whatever, Occam, whatever the hell he is, right? He's got a razor. It's short.
Ockwell.
Right? All right, so either way, but I would agree with you. It looks like exit meetings happen with O'Connell and Brian Flores maybe too, and some of the other things that you've talked about there. And that led to, all right, the GM is deemed to be the biggest problem here within the organization. And then they move forward from there. And then I think off of that, like you said, because it is so rare 4 weeks later to make that move here to where now we're getting close to the combine and all that stuff again, to not have a GM. But I think, and to your point about O'Connell now having more power, I think they're basically going, O'Connell and the people we got in the front office, they'll work together, and Brian Flores will work for them on the defensive side of the ball, and they got the eye for the talent. They'll figure out who they need, and I think that's kind of probably what they came down to, when it's all said and done. But I was with you, like, where we knew there was some weird stuff, but I thought, okay, Flores is back, they're out of the woods, they're going forward as normal, and then to hear that news on Friday was shocking.
It was one of those things where if it had happened the day after the season ended, I'd say,
exactly,
no big deal. That's right. But for it to happen when it did, you're right. What else were the moving parts that resulted in this conclusion that we're going to do it? But I do think the Seahawks making the Super Bowl had something to do with it. I think the fact that they can push forward without replacing Kwesi Adofo-Mensah until after the draft is a factor. And the Flores thing, there was a line in an item from Kevin Seifert of ESPN.com about Flores getting more than $6 million a year, which makes him the highest paid coordinator in the game. But here's what it says. Here's what it says. Flores' unusual decision to let his contract lapse was based in part on his unease with the direction of the front office. When asked last month if he wanted to remain with the Vikings, Flores noted that he loved working for the Wilfs and with O'Connell and loved living in Minnesota, but did not mention Adofo-Mensah.
Yeah, so there you go, right? So that to me, again, just, line up the stories there a little bit. And if O'Connell really wanted to keep Kwesi, right, that would have happened. So that just, again, leads me to believe that, there was not a lot of people in favor of that. And I think, Brian Flores probably looks at it and goes, wait, we kind of had a Super Bowl team, but I'm sure there's been some conversations about players maybe they wanted or whatever and didn't get them. We've talked about their secondary the last few years.
I'm sorry, but
that's where I was going to get to.
Yeah.
Right. The last few years, we've been talking about their secondary for 3 or 4 years now.
My son complains about their secondary all the time.
Of course, the quarterback situation and taking the risk of J.J. McCarthy, who didn't throw the ball a ton, right? Now is injury riddled. There's some other stories behind the scenes as well. Is that all being held against him, right? We know there was concern after last season about J.J. McCarthy being the starter before. Remember, we were at the Super Bowl. There was concern. There was things that they were worried about whether he could take the next step. So I think when you line it all up, and like you said, Sam Darnold going to the Super Bowl and all that, that certainly didn't help him a whole lot.
The one-pitch arsenal was a problem, and Kevin O'Connell surely knew that this guy wasn't ready. And what astounds me is O'Connell got his extension right after the season ended because there was this idea that somebody was going to try to run for him, and he was just going to decide, I'll finish my contract and become a free agent.
Right.
So he got his contract. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah got his later. Why would Adofo-Mensah win a tug-of-war over quarterback direction? That's what's odd to me, because I believe, I don't know, but I believe O'Connell was saying, we can't do this. We can't do this. We got to have Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones or Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
We can't do J.J. McCarthy, Sam Howell, Brett Rippon.
Right.
And both of those guys got thrown overboard after the preseason. It was Max Brosmer, who was an undrafted free agent, and they signed Carson Wentz off the street 2 weeks before the start of the regular season.
Cardinal sin type of moves.
That's not Kevin O'Connell's strategy.
Cardinal sin moves for Super Bowl type team.
So why didn't you listen to Kevin O'Connell last year? You might, Vikings, if you'd listened to Kevin O'Connell last year and kept Sam Darnold, you might be the team that's on this. Do we have the helmets somewhere? It could be the Vikings playing in this game.
No, it's not there,
Vikings,
exactly.
If you'd listened to O'Connell, that may be what you'd had. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.